guys, I'm Daniel. Today we're going to be going over proper gas blowback gun maintenance and care. So first thing you guys will need, of course, your gas blowback pistol. Make sure it's always safe and clear. A few things you're going to need to clean your gun. Definitely start with a cleaning rod. You're going to need some kind of cloth. Once again, on some of the stuff that I've used before in the past, an old t-shirt cut-up works up pretty well. If you have access to it, a microfiber cloth is going to work ideal. You're also going to need silicone oil. So just a little thing about the silicone oils here. The 100% silicone oil that we use in a lot of the other guns is going to work just fine. But what I would recommend is going with something like this. This is the Madbolt Ultimate Oil. So it's still 100% silicone oil, but it's a little bit thicker. So when it goes to lubricating gas blowback guns, it stays in there a little bit longer and just a little bit healthier for the gun. Either way, both of them are going to work fine. So if you have access to one or the other, just go whatever with what you have. The other thing you might need or might be helpful is some Q-tips. Q-tips are going to help you get in some of the smaller crevices and get the dirt and debris out. Not necessary, but it is going to be a little bit helpful. So first off, when it comes to disassembly of the gun, always consult your manual first too, and also consult your manual in terms of any cleaning and maintenance needs too. For example, all KWA guns come with the oil that you need to clean their guns. So do not use, in KWA guns, do not use the silicone oils that I'm showing you guys here. Only use the oil that it came with. So that's important too. Just like I said, go through your manual, just follow whatever it says there. So first off, I'm going to take apart my gun. Every gun's going to be different. So mine, I'm just taking out the slide stop there, and then from there the slide just comes apart. Once again, consult your manual, but from there you're going to have different steps. Mine, for example, I'm taking the recoil rod out so I can access the barrel. And be careful because there are springs within the gas blowback pistols too, so you want to be careful that nothing goes flying. So be aware of what you're doing and just take your time with it too. After that step on my pistol, I'm going to slide out the barrel. And so the first step in cleaning a gas blowback pistol is cleaning the barrel just like a normal AEG. So that's actually the exact same procedure. If you guys haven't seen that before, we'll post a link at the bottom of this video of showing you how to clean a barrel too, just to save time in this one. But it's the exact same procedure. Big thing, make sure your hop-up's all the way off before you go ahead and do that. Because you do have to disassemble a gas blowback pistol before you go into cleaning, what I do recommend is before you go in to clean the pistol, go ahead and just take it apart and do it then. It just makes things easier, and you can see how dirty it is. You can make sure that the hop's off. It just makes life a lot easier. So that's the step there of cleaning the barrel, and that's pretty simple and basic too. This is where it gets a little, not tricky, but just a lot of steps that a lot of people may not be familiar with. When it comes to cleaning the pistol itself, what we're really doing is cleaning the guide rod, not the guide rod, but the rails on the slide itself and the rails on the frame where it slides back and forth on a constant basis. You want to make sure all that is clear of dirt, dust, and debris, and you also want to make sure that's properly lubricated because those are high moving parts that are moving back and forth every time you fire the gun. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to take some Q-tips and I'm spraying it with the silicone oil just to make it moist. And then I'm getting them within the rails as much as I can to pick up a lot of the dirt and old oil and anything else that might have snuck in there. And so I'm going to show you guys in a close-up. But I ran this Q-tip through my pistol for not even 5 seconds, and you guys can see how dirty this is. So that just gives you an idea. This pistol is probably about a year old, and to be honest, I'm kind of guilty, but this is my first time actually really cleaning it. So there's a lot of gunk in here. And so if you're playing outdoors, there's going to be dust and debris. Even if you're playing only indoors, which actually that's what I've been doing with this one, there's still a lot of old oil and just excess stuff that should not be in there. So it's going to take a little time to go through all these rails and make sure everything comes out pretty clean. So like I said, I like using the Q-tip because it makes things easy to get into all the crevices, but it's not completely necessary. If you guys have access to that microfiber cloth, you can take the same steps and go in and clean the rail. That's actually what I'm going to do here since there's so much dirt on this thing. I'm going to go through and have that pick up as much of the dirt and dust and debris on the rails. So I'm going to work through that a little bit. What I'm also going to explain is when it comes to the gas blowback pistols, there's a lot of small O-rings and valves within the gun. Since it is gas powered, the gas is contained within the magazine, for example, and then transferred to the gun itself, and that is transferred to the BBs. So it's important that all those valves and all those components that are holding the gas and that transfer it is well lubricated and cleaned as well. So another spot that's important to clean is the gas blowback unit. Not necessarily unclean, but more oil, and make sure that the O-rings are fresh. So over this right here is the gas blowback unit, and then there's an O-ring that a lot of people don't always see, in the unit itself, or just maybe don't see but aren't aware of, that inside it, that O-ring needs to be fresh with oil. And the reason why these O-rings need to be fresh is they're small rubber parts. If you guys have ever seen a rubber part get dry and heat up over time, what's going to happen is it's going to crack. And if it's going to crack, it's going to cause a leak. It's going to cause a drop in FPS. If you've ever seen a leaky mag, a big reason for that is just old dry O-rings that are starting to crack. So doing this maintenance over time is going to prevent that from happening and keeping your gas blowbacks working as ideally as possible. So that's going to be the main concept in cleaning the frame and the slide. You just want to get in the frames as much as possible. Any moving part, you want to get all the dirt and dust and debris out of there so it's going to slide as freely as possible. So I'm not going to take too much time there, because one of the more tricky parts too is getting on the inside rails of the slide itself. So that does take some time to get into and just rub all the little crevices and get them all out. But once you are pretty satisfied that everything is pretty clean, we're going to move on to the magazines here. So the magazines, once again, there's going to be O-rings coming from the top and the bottom that hold everything together. What you want to do is usually just 1 drop of silicone oil at the top of the valve and also at the bottom. And once again, this is just to keep those O-rings in the gun as fresh as possible, just to make sure that they're not going to crack or leak or give you any problems in the future. So this is going to be the first few steps you guys are going through. My gun is actually still pretty dirty, so I'm going to have to clean it more later on. Once you do feel that your gun is pretty clean, what you want to do then is oil the slide and the frame itself. And so it is also important that you don't over lubricate, and if you have too much oil, that will cause a problem as well. When it comes to oiling the slide and the frame, what I'll actually do is put a total of 4 drops on the frame. I'll put 2 on the left side and 2 on the right side. And after everything is clean and dry, those 4 drops are going to spread out throughout the rest of the slide and keep everything else well lubricated. And so once you have everything lubricated and everything cleaned, go ahead and assemble everything back together. And you do want to cycle the slide a couple times to make sure that the oil gets spread out as much as possible. If you see a little oil dripping down and dripping out of the side, that's okay. If you have a whole lot, obviously you've lubed it too much. But it's really just a light lubrication too. A few other parts that you want to keep in mind for too is some of the moving parts on the top of the frame itself, such as the hammer. There's a few small moving parts. If you see something where it's anywhere it's metal on metal, you want maybe just a small drop of oil. And so what you can also use is use a Q-tip to spread out that oil on all those moving parts. Or you can also just use your finger too, just to make sure everything is meshing together properly and that nothing is going to get jammed up or gunked up. And so as you can see, a lot of the maintenance of this gun is really just keeping the slide and the frame clean from any kind of debris that's going to be there, and obviously, of course, cleaning the barrel. The barrel, I would say, would be a priority. You do want to clean that probably more often. This step you don't have to do as often, but you'll definitely see performance issues if it's getting gunked up too much. The slide is not going to be sliding back as smoothly, or it might get stuck in kind of like a halfway position or something like that. So I mean, like any other mechanical object, you want to keep things well maintained. So these are just a few of the basic steps. One thing I do want to point out with the Q-tips, they are very helpful, but when you do work with them, be careful, they do leave a few threads, so make sure there aren't any threads left on the gas blowback pistol, and then so you can use the frame, not the frame, but the microfiber cloth to clean everything out. So those are the basic steps. I hope this helps you guys keep your guns working well, and thanks for watching, guys.
I'm Deputy Joe Lamonaco. On behalf of the LA County Sheriff's Department in association with Airsoft GI, I want to remind you that your airsoft guns can be mistaken as actual firearms in public. I also want to remind you that never, ever take a firearm near a school.